If you're here for your usual PSVR2 fix, that will be coming in an hour with the finale of Behemoth. But before we get on to that, we have to talk about the new Space Marine 2 update. Every time there's a new update, I tend to cover it on the channel if it's something exciting, and this is for a variety of reasons. Not only is there new content, cosmetics, but also a lot of balancing and some performance tweaks to both the PS5 Pro and to lower down hardware like the Steam Deck. Very exciting. Before we get in, only 25% you are actually subscribed, and chances are if you're watching this, you've never found the channel before. So if you like VR as the main content of this channel, or if you like occasional flat screen games, please feel free to like and sub. Thank you to our patrons and YouTube members who bring this content straight to you as well. So, Space Marine 2 Obelisk update is here. There's a lot of cool little stuff to tackle in the update, but first and foremost, a brand new mission. This is the parallel operation to Titus's mission in the end of the game. Turning the obelisk, finding some chaos, getting that Lord of Change and warp energy banished, and finishing the fight. Thematically, it's a very cool mission. I feel like it could have come at the start of the operations that were added to kind of round out the campaign a little bit, but nevertheless, we have it now, and thematically, the story you're going through here, you already know what's going to happen. You know you're going to succeed, so nothing new there, but it is neat to get the take on what actually happened to the squads who are running parallel to Titus, as it is quite a big narrative hole in the end of the campaign. Not something that's a plot hole necessarily, but something that would be appreciated to be filled in, and now it is. I was worried though before the update came out that it would be far too similar to Titus's mission at the end of the game, and luckily that's not the case. They've differentiated this mission with two main areas. One of them being the Dark Crypts underground, in which you use a relic to keep off the darkness, and if you stray too far from the player holding the relic, you start to take damage, and a section where you have to align the path to carry on when the Lord of Change destroys all of the landscape. That is a really cool spectacle, and I think some parts of this level in terms of spectacle look fantastic and are also contrasted by the dark dungeons that you go through at the start of the mission. I much preferred the second half of the mission for sure, because I found that the relic section was a little slow, but to be honest, it switched up the gameplay a bit. It added something new. It's not one that I'm really going to be wanting to replay often. I think that's more of a chaos problem though than a mission design problem. The chaos are just far less fun to fight than the Tyranids, but I don't really think it's going to be a segment that I really dread, like some parts of Reliquary, for example, are. The mission ends with a fairly cool little boss fight as well, although we did blitz through it by throwing a melter bomb underneath the last sorcerer. But overall, yeah, it does add some very cool elements, has a different take on the end of the campaign, and did exceed my expectations for a mission that has essentially already been done in the campaign, just in a different location. So, thumbs up from me there. Not my favorite mission, definitely not as cool as the Bio Titan, but still a good addition, and of course, more content. Of course, we knew there was a new enemy type coming, and personally, when it was added, I wouldn't have expected or wanted it to be a Zangor, but we got the Enlightened Zangor on the discs, and to be honest, they're pretty fun to fight. They're quite annoying with some attacks, but it's just because I'm learning them. But it's pretty funny to watch them spin at you like a Beyblade, and to be honest, I'm just happy we're getting more enemies in content updates and not just missions and cosmetics. So overall, thumbs up. Speaking of content, of course, cosmetics, we have the actual Mark 8 helmet, which is very, very good to have, and I will be running this on most of my Space Marines, but it does have that stupid ass symbol in the middle of it. I wish it was just chapter agnostic. Whatever, I'm sure that'll come sometime in the future, and to be honest, I'm just happy to have the angry helmet in the game. It's what I grew up with in terms of Space Marines. None of this Primaris shit, even though it is cool, of course. This is what I'm going to be using. I think it looks great. The new Bulwark items are also really good looking. If you had the DLC, you'll have a plasma pistol skin, a sword skin, a shield skin, and a new chest plate, a new helmet, new shoulders. It all looks fantastic. If you want to run the set champion, it's a set look, so you can't change the color, but it still looks great. But if you want to use the armor pieces individually, they also look brilliant, and I have been doing so. On the customization side of things as well, we can now adjust the eye lenses. That is just brilliant. I can now complete the look of my Space Marine fully. Balancing and gameplay additions are also a big thing here. Really like the fact that now if you get kicked from a mission, you still get the XP that you would have got up to that point. I love the fact that the game now gives you an incentive to stand and fight by giving you extra XP for killing enemies at the end of a mission. That's going to stop people from just speedrunning through the missions, and ultimately for me, that makes it a bit more immersive. Love the fact that stomping can now be chained indefinitely, really cool. Some sound adjustments for different parries and dodges too, big thumbs up. However, I would like some different sounds rather than just a different tone, if that makes sense. Like when an unparryable attack is coming at you, I would like a different sound altogether than when a parryable attack is coming at you, just to differentiate it a little bit more. The blocking rework is also pretty damn good. And even though they've claimed extremist spawns have been turned down a bit, on lethal there was still a shit ton of them, but I guess there should be. but on lower down difficulties it did feel a little bit easier in terms of them not spawning all over you. Fall of Atreus has also been shortened. That mission I found was pretty good, but yeah, a little bit long in some places. However, sometimes the rappel segment with the Dreadnought will be removed, which is one of my favourite parts of the mission, which is kind of sad to see. And finally, in these little changes, players are now invulnerable to new instances of damage while in knockback, which is something I've really wanted. You can no longer get stun locked by some enemies over and over again before you've even had a chance to get up and react. Final bit of positive here, frame generation is now a thing. Thank God. I personally play on PlayStation. I've seen some performance improvements on some maps. The new mission though doesn't run amazingly on most of the hardware that I've seen, but there are some PS5 Pro enhancements if you do have that console as well, so things should be running buttery smooth on there. With frame generation though, PCs will get a bit of a boost, and also the Steam Deck is now playable. With frame gen on in the larger fights, you'll probably be sitting at about 35 to 40 FPS, but in the smaller fights and say the boss battles where you're kind of one-on-one with something, you'll be looking at 50 to 70 FPS, which is just fantastic. Hats off to Saber. They said they wanted to get the game in a good place on Steam Deck by the end of the year, and they've done so. Hopefully, further performance improvements can make this game run even better on handheld hardware. I mean, they ported World War Z to Switch, for God's sake, like, they can do this. But yeah, great work on that front. I've double dipped on the game, and I can now play it from anywhere. However, there were some server hiccups throughout my time with the new update. During a playthrough of the Helldrake mission, I was in a full squad and suddenly we all got disconnected and then reconnected back to the same lobby and put to the last checkpoint. A little bit strange, don't know why that happened, but it seemed like a server issue and not us, so yeah, odd. Other than that though, the update's been great, I've been really enjoying it. Please let me know how you found it in the comments below, or maybe you're here because of the usual PSVR2 stuff, in which case, again, our playthrough of Behemoth continues in 1 hour. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.